Should you paint from dark colors through to light colors, or should you paint from light colors through to dark colors? I'm Warwick from Harder and Steenbeck, and these are more of our need-to-know basics. Now, this question is going to spark a lot of debate. So I'm looking forward to that. Please do put your thoughts in the comments below and let us know how you go about this and what your application is, because this, I really feel, is the key to answering this question. Now, I'm going to go back in history a little bit to the olden days when I started airbrushing. And I'll say that back then we really had only one option, which was to start with the light colors and work through to the darker ones. And the reason was pretty simple. The paints that we were working with back then really made airbrushing a labor of love. It was hard. And the reason why it was difficult was because the paints were pretty thick and the pigments were pretty coarse. We had to over-thin our paints quite substantially just to get them to run reliably through the airbrush. And because of that, it was very difficult to develop opacity of a light color over a darker one. Thankfully, nowadays, the paint manufacturers have done an absolutely stand-up job of giving us beautiful paints that are so easy to use. And I really believe that where we are now with the quality of paints that we have from so many different manufacturers, we're in a real golden age of airbrushing. And we have the kind of options now available to us of painting from dark colors through to light. And when you look at what the airbrush does better than any other tool, my personal belief is that the airbrush is capable of producing colors with a vibrancy that nothing else can rival in terms of an application method. And this is really why I love the airbrush as much as I do. If you really want to maximize the vibrancy of your colors, the best way to do that is to work from light through to dark. If you can imagine, for example, a yellow, which is typically a color that's quite difficult to put over a darker color. A yellow that's applied over a white base will be so much more vibrant than a yellow that's applied over a black. Also, when you're thinking about layering colors up and creating them by tinting one color over another, typically that results in a final result that's got a little more vibrancy than if you just come in with an opaque color of the same shade value. So that's always worth bearing in mind. But really the main difference is in the application. What are you painting? Typically, if you're painting a surface that's flat and has no recesses or three-dimensional interest to it, for example, it might be a motorcycle tank, it might be a canvas. Typically there, you'll really want to maximize your ability to get the most vibrancy possible out of your colors. And you'll do that by working from a light background through to progressively darker color. However, when you're talking about a workpiece which has three-dimensional interest to it, so this might be, for example, a scale model, it could be a cosplay piece, or it could be a fantasy miniature, for example. You've got another problem, which is how do you get into those recesses reliably without touching the areas around it? Now, if you're painting from light to dark, that's a real problem. If you think about the parts that you need to get past to get into those recesses, these would typically be raised edges, and raised edges typically would not be shadowed, they'd be highlighted. So this is a really strong argument to put down a very, very dark base that establishes all those recesses and those dark color values in the recesses at the start of the painting process. And then what you're able to do is use the shape of the model to do something which I think the airbrush is uniquely great at doing, which is zenithal highlighting. Zenithal highlighting enables you to use the airbrush to apply paint in exactly the same way as light would fall on that shape. If your light source is here, for example, and that's where you put your airbrush, put down those general highlights, it will find all of the edges and areas on that piece that light would find if it was coming from there. What you've then got is an establishment of the highlighted areas that you can then come back and work with your colors to work again from light through to dark, which gives you this vibrancy of color that is unrivaled with the airbrushing method. So I guess the answer, generally speaking, is to say that when you're working on surfaces which don't have much in the way of three-dimensional relief to be concerned about, the best color values that you're going to get and the most vibrant representations of the tones that you want, you will get by working from light through to dark. As soon as you bring recesses in, it's much more reliable, easier, and just less stressful to get that dark base and those dark recess color values established first, then to come back and put light in the areas where it really needs to be, and then work again from light through to dark. Remember to subscribe to the channel for more content from us, and do let us know in the comments what you'd like to see.